Hello again. Welcome. I'm talking quietly because I've got. Look who's here. I won't show him on the screen, but I'm streaming from the rather precarious position on my sofa, and we're going to continue with where I left off this morning, reading my book, Happy Tears. But before I start reading that, I want to explain what might have happened if you tried to buy the ebook today at the price of £1, as I implored you to do over and over again. The thing is that after I finished streaming this morning, I went in and sort of finessed the Amazon listing a little bit. And one of the things you can do on Amazon, which I think people don't really have any idea about until they try to do their own publishing, but you can put your book in a category, like you get to choose your own category, and you can choose up to 3 categories that your book belongs in. And this book is kind of a weird one to place. So the first category I put it in is non-fiction media studies. So it's a book about TV, it's a book about media, so it's a media studies book. The second category I put it in was non-fiction parenting, like a self-help sort of parenting book. It's not really that, but it is about parenting. So I put it in that category. And then with the opportunity to have a third category, I put it in comics because it's about a cartoon and because it has comics in it. I thought, why not just cover all the bases? And that actually ended up nuking the entire ebook. For some reason, it just because I only made that change to the ebook, and for most of today, after imploring everyone to go and buy it for just £1, $1, €1, whatever it is in your territory, it was actually not available. But it is back. The ebook is back, and it is here to stay, and it costs £1. So this time, for real this time, please go and buy it for £1 because I really need those reviews to come in, um, so that the listing on Amazon has like a good it has a good rating, right? We know how this works. Um, I'm not a I'm not a proven brand on Amazon the way that I am with YouTube, so I need that sort of backing to make the listing look good, and then I can start selling the book to people who actually like Bluey, who want to buy it as a a birthday present, a Christmas present for other people in their life who like Bluey. So please, please, please go and do that. Um, I don't often ask for support from people in the audience because I think my videos aren't something that I want to make into a commodity to sell to people. But this book is something I worked really hard on. I'd like to sell it. I'd like people to buy it. So I'm asking you this one time, please support me, even if you don't like Bluey or you hate the book for whatever reason. Just spend £1, $1, €1, just buy the book and leave a review. Doesn't even have to be a good review. I don't know why you would do this if you want to leave a bad review, but go ahead, just review the book because it makes the listing look legitimate, which it is. It is a legitimate listing. So with that begging out of the way and that explanation and the baby waving portion of the video, let's get back to the book, um, where we left off, which was well, what a third of the way through the book. It's not very long. I'm afraid I don't have my paperback here, so when we get to a comic, you're just going to have to use your imagination because I can't show you the comic. Um, this chapter is called. I'm just going to check that people watching the stream actually. Oh, yeah, looks like you're back. Um, Baylis Projects. I think you might find some interesting things in it if you haven't seen Bluey. You may find it interesting. I've made a lot of observations in there about a lot about parenting, about life in general, psychology, story. There's a lot in there about storytelling and about television and how television is made. And there's comics that I've drawn. There's these comics are not going to appear anywhere else. They're just in the book. For £1, I think it's well worth spending £1 just to read the comics that I put in the book. So that's my answer. And just because I'm asking you to, that's really the reason to do it is because aren't we friends at this point? Haven't we built up a parasocial relationship where you wouldn't mind doing me a favor? Um, of course you don't want to. That's fine too. All right, Flatpack, season 2, episode 21, Flatpack. is another favourite among fans due to its multi-layered symbolism. To begin with, we have the parent-child parallel stories that we've seen in other episodes. Bandit and Chili are assembling a new porch swing, while the kids play with the discarded packaging. As the porch swing comes together, the amount of packaging that Bluey and Bingo have available for their game increases, and the imaginary world of their game evolves from a puddle of water represented by bubble wrap to a futuristic civilization built from cardboard and polystyrene. Layered on top of the kids' plotline are two distinct symbolic layers. Firstly, there's the explicit mother daughter roleplay game that Bluey and Bingo play. Bingo starts as a baby and grows up as the game progresses, and Bluey starts as an adult and ages into an elderly woman by the end. At the end of the episode, the roleplay game concludes with Bingo flying away on a spaceship and Bluey leaving the game to sit with her parents on the completed porch swing, while Bingo runs around in the garden in her makeshift spaceship. Bandit closes the episode with the spontaneous expression of contentment. This is heaven. This is the writer's way of telling us that Bluey's character is in the role play has passed on to the afterlife. Another way of seeing this heaven metaphor is the second symbolic layer. Chili and Bandit represent gods in heaven, sending down blessings to help the girls build their civilization on Earth. This theory is reinforced by Chili's line spoken fondly while watching the girls playing. "Ah, we made them." I think someone is setting off fireworks like really close to my house, just like after I started streaming. This is really not good timing. But way to remind me to wish you a happy 5th of November. Remember, etc. Okay, back to the book. In addition to the mother-child roleplay and the heaven and earth metaphor, the girls are unknowingly role-playing the evolution of their species. At first they pretend to be fish, then primitive cave-dwelling creatures, then sentient dogs, or humans, who finally reach a level of technology so advanced that Bingo's character is able to leave Earth to colonize another planet. Brum has named this episode as one of his favourites from a writing perspective, stating that the multi-layered symbolism emerged unexpectedly during the writing process. Episode note: Flatpack contains one of the series' most circulated jokes. When Chili and Bandit are assembling their porch swing, Chili points to the instructions and says, "The cardboard dog says you're supposed to put some cardboard down underneath first." To which Bandit replies, "I'm not taking advice from a cartoon dog." Sorry for my bad impression. Reception. This is part of the season 2 chapter, by the way. So, the season 2 reception. Looking at the viewing ratings for each episode on IMDb, there's a small but measurable step upwards for season 2 on average compared to season 1, from about 8 out of 10 to 8.5 out of 10. But these averages are only based on a few hundred online reviews. Even so, this reflects the general sentiment among fans that season 2 is as good as season 1, with a few outstanding episodes: Sleepy Time, Grandad, Flatpack, and Baby Race, and a few less treasured episodes: Circus, Typewriter, and Tickle Crabs, which still rate above 7 out of 10. The fandom. This is a quote from The Simpsons. In episode 2F09, when Itchy plays Scratchy's skeleton like a xylophone, he strikes the same rib twice in succession, yet he produces two clearly different notes. I mean, what are we, to believe that this is some sort of magic xylophone or something? Gee, I really hope someone got fired for that blunder. As already mentioned, Bluey was a cultural phenomenon in Australia before the release of season 2. But it was the global audience who was introduced to Bluey in 2020 that really made the fan base what it is today. After each new block of episodes was released, the audience craved more. While they waited for new episodes, many of them went back over old episodes, something children are already known to do, and noticed details that had passed them by on the first viewing. This prompted many to go online to discuss what they had found, as well as making their own original content like fan art, fan edits, and compilations. Online activity like this doesn't just work as a release valve for the adoration of Bluey that fans feel. It also fuels the devotion. It builds hype for future Bluey releases and spreads awareness of Bluey to the uninitiated. who are curious to see what all the fuss is about. I've been careful while writing this book to not describe the audience of Bluey as just being children and their parents. Childless adults are also a large portion of the audience, as well as youngsters who are especially active on online communities and on social media platforms. Gotta Be Done podcast. In March 2019, two ex-journalists from Melbourne, Mary Bowling and Kate McMahon, sat down together in the wagon, as they call it, in reference to the episode Wagon Ride, to discuss their favourite TV series to watch with their children. At the time, there were only 52 episodes of the series, and they were only available in Australia. Though the show was popular, and there were already discussions about it online, there was no definitive source of Bluey analysis, trivia, and speculation until Gotta Be Done. You binge watch your average Netflix show, and you just want to talk to someone about it, says the introduction at the start of each episode, over the sound of a baby gurgling in the background. We need to talk to someone about Bluey. Each episode of the podcast focuses on one episode of Bluey, covering the entire series in sequence, in addition to a few episodes featuring other Bluey-related content. Though Kate and Mary started off as ordinary Bluey fans, over the years they became known to the cast and crew of Bluey, and managed to bring on a few of the creatives to find out what goes on behind the scenes and why certain decisions were made. Creator and writer of Bluey, Joe Brum, has been interviewed on the podcast 3 times. After persistent requests, Kate and Mary finally made it into Bluey as minor voice roles in the season 3 episode Promises. There are other podcasts that are dedicated to talking about Bluey. Bluey's Brisbane, a professionally produced podcast from Bridge Media. The Hammerbarn Project, made by 3 blokes as they describe themselves. 2 Bandits Watching Bluey, and Dinner with the Healers, a Bluey podcast. This non-exhaustive list only includes podcasts where adults talk about Bluey, and which have been consistently posting new episodes for a few years. Apparently, there is something about Bluey as a series that makes people, or perhaps a certain kind of person, dive into the symbology and lore of every episode. If you're reading this book, that might apply to you. Perhaps it is because so many episodes of Bluey hint at hidden depth without explicitly stating what the episode is about. The meaning is open to interpretation, and thus it invites discussion. It also helps that many viewers end up watching episodes repeatedly. This is how children prefer to consume media, which allows for subtle details that are easily missed on first viewing to be noticed in subsequent viewings. Finally, in April 2023, the ABC produced their own official Bluey podcast, Behind Bluey, in which the creatives involved in making Bluey talk about each episode. There are currently only 11 episodes, and no new episodes have been released since June 2023. We've got a comic here. You'll have to use your imagination or pay £1 and you can read the comic in the book. It's the big cat, which is me, and the little cat, which is my daughter, on my head saying, "Are you watching Bluey?" And I'm saying, actually, it's a video about Bluey. YouTube. Hideaki the Shikoku is a YouTube channel with almost 100,000 subscribers and over 100 videos about Bluey. The personality behind the channel is a young man known to the audience as Hideaki, who represents himself as a cartoon dog avatar inspired by the Bluey character design. His most popular videos have millions of views each. Hideaki is not a parent at the time of writing, but nonetheless he enjoys Bluey and celebrates the writing and humour of the series in his videos. He delves into details that viewers may have missed, and analyses the characters and plot lines, and speculates about the subtext of episodes, and what we might expect from Bluey in the future. I contacted Hideaki to ask him what he thinks makes Bluey special, and why it appeals to adults more than other children's series do. His response: "Overall, I think it's the level of maturity the show has," he writes. "It doesn't necessarily cover super deep or philosophical topics, but it tells its messages in a way that feels genuine and feels like it's not dumbing down to kids. I feel like this has gotten the show a ton of respect among older viewers who realize that it's trying to do more than just tell a basic message or stimulate kids with colorful nonsense. I also think it gives a lot of teens, adults, realistic situations they can either relate to or feel nostalgic over. A lot of the situations in the show feel like moments lots of kids, adults go through in real life. Parents feel seen by the show for its realistic, honest portrayal of parenting, and many teens adults, like myself, remember how we used to play with our friends or family like this when we were Bluey or Bingo's age. It reminds people like myself of a much more innocent and magical time when we felt like our parents could do anything, or that our house could be a base for many fantasy worlds, which is something I think a lot of viewers find comfort in. End quote. The YouTube channel Aussie Girl Margie has posted close to 500 videos about Bluey, which are similar in content to Hideaki's videos. The creator is an Australian mother, Margie, who lives in the United States and helps non-Aussie viewers to understand the cultural references and slang in Bluey that might be unfamiliar to them, such as buggerlugs and see you next Thursday. She puts herself in her videos and uses her own home as a filming studio. Her clothing and set dressing feature fun designs that celebrate Bluey and Australian culture. Her channel has over 200,000 subscribers, who she calls cheeky dogs, affectionately, and some of her videos have accumulated millions of views. These Bluey analysis videos are not necessarily made for children, but they are child-friendly and have a lively editing pace and presentation style that can hold the attention of children and adults. My own child was fascinated by Hideaki's video, Animation Errors in Bluey, for the entire 13-minute runtime and asked to watch more. This makes it hard to estimate how many of the views on Margie's and Hideaki's videos are from adults or adolescents, but the thousands of comments left by viewers seem to be mostly written by people with a command of written English that would suggest they're at least 8 years old, although the occasional comment does crop up. Don't clip that, by this. Please don't isolate that clip of me doing that. The most viewed video analysing Bluey on YouTube was not made by Hideaki the Shigoku or Aussie Girl Margie, but by the popular Storytime cartoon channel The Odd Ones Out, run by an animator named James. The video, titled My Thoughts on Bluey, has over 22 million views at the time of writing. It is different to the videos described above, as it is more of a review of the show and a description of James's personal experience of discovering Bluey and watching it, and how his perception of Bluey changed. In addition to appealing to Bluey fans, the video was also likely watched by many of James's 22 million subscribers, many of whom would never have even considered watching the series until James made a video about it. Another, less wholesome side of YouTube has also taken an interest in Bluey. Back in the early days of YouTube, we called it YouTube Poop, or YTP, and it is difficult to describe to someone who has never witnessed it. It's a style of video, typically only a few minutes long, which takes clips, in this case clips from Bluey, and edits them together in rapid succession, with surprising and incongruous sound effects, often changing the meaning of the dialogue. It is an infantile type of humour that's popular with youngsters and baffling to adults, though as someone writing a book about a preschool cartoon, perhaps this author shouldn't be too judgmental. Admittedly, these edits did occasionally draw a smirk out of me when I watched them for research, and my children find them unaccountably hilarious. TikTok. There's another category of videos that helped to raise Bluey's profile online. Short vertical content popularized by TikTok, known as Shorts generically. Isolated clips from Bluey were uploaded to TikTok and YouTube Shorts, and while many were the sort of gags that work in isolation, users found other ways to have fun with Bluey clips. The format of Shorts encourages users to borrow sounds from other videos, usually a snippet of a song or a clip from a film or a series, and add their own visuals. One audio clip that was popular to remix was Bluey singing Can We Get from the episode Dance Mode. Thousands of users recorded themselves lip-syncing to the dialogue, often with their own captions that completely changed the context of the clip, while retaining the original mood. Vigorous enthusiasm giving way to a more restrained enthusiasm. Mom, can we get the bill? The TikTok page for Can We Get the Bill claims that there are over 100,000 videos that use the audio clip. I watched so many of those. I couldn't believe that there were 100,000 clips of people saying, "Mom, can we get?" But I looked and I couldn't find one that wasn't that. So I mean, it's quite possible that TikTok just lies about how many videos there are, but I I think it's quite possible that there are 100,000 videos of people saying that line. And they're not saying it, they're, they're mouthing it. Many of the people who saw these videos had no idea that it was audio from Bluey. It is safe to say that some of these must have been curious enough to find out the original source, leading them to discover Bluey for the first time. R. Bluey. Do you say R Bluey or R/Bluey? For it's a for the Bluey subreddit R/Bluey. R Bluey. I don't know. I think most people just call it R Bluey, which is just confusing to say out loud. Reddit is a hub of internet forums. I had to explain what a Reddit is. I think most people watching this video will get it, but I just know that there's going to be a lot of like not extremely online people who may be somewhat aware of what Reddit is, but who've never been on there. So stuff like TikTok, YouTube, Reddit, I've just got to like spend a paragraph explaining this stuff that really hasn't got much to do with the book at all, but I felt like it was necessary. I didn't want to make the book just impenetrable to like my mum, for example. Reddit is a hub of internet forums which facilitates discussion of any subject imaginable between people with shared interests. The most popular subreddit for discussing Bluey, there are several, is r Bluey. The R prefix denotes that it's the name of a subreddit, a subdivision of Reddit. Anyone can browse Reddit or YouTube, but to be a member of a subreddit, one needs a login and an associated email address, which requires a certain level of literacy. Therefore, we can conclude that the 230,000 members of r Bluey are mostly mature fans. This is taken for granted by the tagline on the banner of R Bluey, the only cartoon show you're willing to watch with your kids. Although Facebook also has a Bluey group for adults, R Bluey is the best place to go to discuss your favourite Bluey moments, share fan art, see background details that others have noticed, and ask questions such as, is Chutney Chimp different to Chunky Chimp? And is Socks autistic? The answers to these are yes and no, respectively. Every year, the internet forum Reddit hosts an event called R Place. Each Reddit user is given the power to change the color of a single pixel in an enormous canvas once every 5 minutes. Alone, a single user can't create anything without their pixel being lost in a sea of rainbow chaos. However, an online community working towards a shared goal of drawing one specific image or message can leave their mark on the canvas and make it last. Since many different fandoms and groups participate, they all have to compete for space. Therefore, the size, accuracy, and permanence of each community's creations becomes a yardstick for the popularity of that community and the devotion of its members. In 2022, the R Bluey community managed to create an image of Bluey Healer that was about 40 pixels tall, showing her sitting cross-legged and holding a heart. This image endured until the end of the event and was later commemorated by the Bluey background artists in the episode Surprise. In 2023, the R Place event lasted 6 days. R Bluey teamed up with the Bluey Discord server, the Healer House, to create a more ambitious image than the previous year, depicting multiple characters and detailed backgrounds. Much of this territory was ceded to other fandoms, but one image of Bluey and Bingo linking arms endured to the end, occupying a square canvas of about 50 pixels high. One notable, I don't know if any of that makes sense. If you don't know what R Place is, let me know. Just like write a comment right now. If you've never seen R Place before, you've never like experienced it or like participated in it, let me know if that explanation is just complete gibberish or if you feel like you have some idea of what R Place is from that description. One notable feature of these events is that the target demographic of Bluey, children under 6 years of age, is practically excluded from participating. There were no 5-year-olds placing pixels on their R Place canvas or contributing to online discussions. These are adults or adolescents expressing their love for Bluey. Long dogs. Taking after a long tradition in animation, the background artists on Bluey included an Easter egg, not literally an egg, hidden in every episode. See, I don't even know if Easter egg is a common parlance expression because like Easter egg for a lot of people just means the chocolate eggs that you eat at Easter or even the painted eggs. Even though if you're talking to people who are into film or TV as a as a subject of study, You can just throw around the term Easter egg. In video games, obviously Easter eggs are probably like that's where Easter eggs come from, right? Um, I feel like that's a really common thing to say, but then it's kind of like that video I made about how women don't know what howitzer means. It's like if you know what it means, it feels like everyone knows it, but then you just encounter someone one day who just doesn't know what that means at all and's never heard it. It's a shibboleth, in other words. Um, the background artist on Bluey included an Easter egg, not literally an egg, hidden in every episode, as a challenge for eagle eyed viewers. Although most viewers are completely unaware of it, there's a small dog motif drawn in the background of every episode so far, which the fans have named Long Dogs due to their dachshund-like proportions. Long dogs can be any colour, and although they are frequently found in the form of a toy in places that make sense, like the playroom floor or the kids' bedroom shelf, they can be found anywhere, atop a kitchen cabinet or in a jar of macaroni elbows, for example. Let me just check the chat. Yeah, thanks everyone for commenting. I hope this I'm not very good at reading, to be honest with you. Reading aloud is something I could pretty much not do at all until I was about 16 years old, and I spent the summer holidays I would just read aloud to myself because it was getting really embarrassing, like not being able to read out loud when I had to. It's like it's a really fundamental skill that most people have, and I didn't learn it until I was quite old, and I still feel like I'm not good at it. So I hope I'm glad if there are people listening to this who are who are understanding the words that I'm saying and are like following along with this slightly rubbish audio quality. I'm pretty I'm pretty chuffed with that. Tomorrow. Alexa, stop. She does that every day. Okay, back to the book. Long dogs. Some devoted fans made a hobby of finding long dogs and sharing their discoveries online. Long dogs have thus become a symbol for Bluey fans, an inside joke between creators and the online Bluey community. Thus, when Anthony Bean wrote his book, The Psychology of Bluey, he used images of long dogs to decorate the section headings. When the fashion label Hot Topic launched their line of Bluey branded apparel for adults, they added a long dog charm to one of the wallet designs. Aussie girl Margie sometimes wears long dog earrings in her YouTube videos. Similarly to long dogs, tennis balls are also hidden in the background of many episodes, in addition to being featured in the episode's story occasionally. This may be less of an in-joke for the animators and more of a genuine attempt to make the environments look authentically cluttered with toys. Another running joke among fans online is the existence of cats. Cats have been mentioned in multiple times in Bluey, most notably in the episode Shops, where the characters roleplay a kitten shop scenario, and in other episodes where the characters sing the theme tune to something called Cat Squad. Da-na-na-na, Cat Squad! But no one in the show has a pet cat, and there's never been a cat in the background of an episode. Therefore, every time there's a toy cat in an episode, or cats are alluded to at all, there will inevitably be a screenshot of the moment posted to discussion forums. Blueypedia. Everything you could ever want to know about Bluey, as well as a great many other things, have been meticulously compiled into a crowdsourced online encyclopedia, or wiki. Every episode, every character, and every known cast and crew member has its own page. The total number of pages is close to 1,000 at the time of writing, and many of them are very detailed and in depth. Each character profile includes a list of every colour used on the character model. Not just blue and yellow, but specific tones like Malibu, pale blue lily, and sand. And it's not only main characters who get this treatment. Characters as obscure as Bingo's teacher, Mrs. Retriever, and Juniper's mum all have their own in-depth character profiles listing every appearance in the series and in peripheral Bluey products. This is like the most insane. When I saw this on the Bluey wiki, I knew I had to go in the book because there's some person out there who is taking a color like a color swatch. What do you call it? The color dropper tool. I'm guessing this is how they're doing it. And they're going over every single color in every character design, like even the like the highlight shine on the character's nose, which is like, it's tiny, but it's a different color on each character. So they've listed that along with every other color, like the nose color, the patch color, the inside of the ear color. Like they've got a kind of pinkish flesh tone on the inside of the ears. Every single color has its proper RAL reference tone. It's I've never seen a wiki go into that much depth before. That's what I was trying to describe in that paragraph. This website is the product of hundreds of hours of unpaid work by a dedicated community of Bluey fans. I could have just, like, if I was being completely honest there, I would have written autistic Bluey fans. As you can imagine, this has been an invaluable resource for researching this book. Rest assured that I've been diligent in following the advice of my school teachers by tracing all the information to its original source. The show. The maturity of the Bluey fan base is also apparent in the adult nature of the discussions. One notable example occurred after the release of Season 2, Episode 16, The Show, when some fans speculated that the writers were hinting that Bingo and Bluey's mother suffered a pregnancy loss at some point in her past. In the episode, Bingo and Bluey put on an amateur theatre production, taking on the roles of their parents. Bingo puts a balloon under her shirt to represent a pregnancy, and when the balloon pops, there's a tense silence as their parents look stricken and hold hands. Even suggesting that this might be a subtle allusion to miscarriage would be unthinkable in any other media for this demographic. No one would sincerely argue that there's a subtext of infidelity in Peppa Pig, or that a character in Paw Patrol were on antidepressants, even if there were evidence in the show to support the theory. Of course, there are jokes and details in Bluey that are purely for the adults in the audience, but this was surely too morbid. And yet, in 2023, Brom confirmed the fan theory in his correspondence with Isabel Orderberg, which she published in her book Hard to Bear, investigating the science and silence of miscarriage. What's more, Brom implies that the reference to Chili's miscarriage goes well beyond just the moment when the balloon pops. The entire episode is about Bingo learning to persevere and after suffering a mishap, in the same way that Chili did after her miscarriage. In Brom's comment on the subject, he wrote, "There was no choice but for her to pick herself up and keep going." With this added context, the scene of Bluey comforting Bingo can be seen as an analogy for Bandit comforting Chili. "I knew I ruined the show," says Bingo, sitting on the floor with her knee pulled up to her chest. "It wasn't your fault," says Bluey. "It was," says Bingo. "We can just blow up another one." Parenting. Oh, thanks for the super chat. You're a real treasure. I can't give you the dollar on Amazon. I have Prime, so it's free. I'll give you the money here. I don't want your money. I just want the review. I just need the review, please. I put it on. I didn't put it as a dollar to make money. I made it as cheap as possible so that I could get a few views up. But thank you so much for your $5 and thank you for reading the book. Um. I don't have a Venmo. I use something called Ko-fi or Kofi. I know it's slightly irritating giving money to YouTube, so thanks very much. You really are you are a sweetheart. Can I put it on the screen? Everyone, look at this amazing person. I could do that when I used to use StreamYard, but I can't find out how to do it now. I'm sorry. I'm not using StreamYard today. I'm just on straight on YouTube. Thank you though. You're all sweetheart. I'll give you a kiss on the head at the end, but I can't. My baby's asleep, so I can't do it right now. Parenting. In my very first review of Bluey, when I'd only sort of watched 11 episodes, I said that it was a series about parenting masquerading as a children's cartoon. Since then, I've learnt that Bluey is not only about parenting, but parenting is certainly one recurring theme. In casual conversations that I have had with other parents, before they find out that I've been writing a book about Bluey, I don't tell people that. It's embarrassing. The first thing they say about the series is it's relatable. Parents enjoy seeing the little moments of their everyday lives represented on the screen, like Muffin acting hyperactive after skipping a nap in the episode Sleepover, or Chili hurrying her children out of the house in Sticky Gecko. In addition to the many relatable moments and details peppered throughout the series, there are larger plot beats and themes that resonate with parents' experiences, and it is these that help elevate some episodes from the level of good to This episode changed the way I see my life, for some viewers. Baby Race. This book borrows its title from Season 2, Episode 50, Baby Race, which mostly takes place in Chili's memories of Bluey as a baby. It is an episode that is close to the bone for many parents because it shows Chili doubting herself and feeling like a failure. It is a stereotype of new mothers, especially, that they obsess over raising their babies the right way. They anxiously seek advice from midwives, pediatricians, and child psychologists. They meticulously measure every facet of their baby's growth, and they consult medical professionals for every perceptible irregularity with their baby's well being. When anything goes wrong, they blame themselves and feel as if they've failed their child. In Baby Race, Chili does all she can to help baby Bluey hit her development milestones, but baby Bluey still fails to start walking at an appropriate age. This leads to such a palpable sense of failure that one of her mum friends notices and takes the initiative to give Chili a pep talk. There's something you need to know, she says sternly. What? Asks Chili apprehensively. You're doing great. This line is delivered as if speaking directly to parents watching at home. When Chili tells her daughters the story, she starts to cry. Bingo asks, Are they happy tears? Yeah, happy tears, says Chili. For a series famous for making adults cry, the adult characters in Bluey don't often cry themselves. Bingo's reaction suggests that she has seen her mother cry before, but not always in the context of sadness. Children cry more often than adults, and usually more intensely, but they don't often cry tears of joy. In fact, crying for children seems almost a separate phenomenon to crying as an adult. Most adults don't cry when they stub their toe, even when it hurts a lot, but they might cry with laughter while watching a comedy show, or cry with joy at a wedding. Most common of all, and yet the most baffling, is crying while watching an emotive scene in a film, or indeed a children's cartoon. The science and psychology of crying is currently lacking a decisive explanation for why humans cry when no other animals do, except to flush out foreign matter from their eyes. All scientists can say for now is that tears are often brought on by strong emotions. The combination of storytelling with emotive music seems to act as a sober stimulus for human brains, triggering a strong emotional response that brings on tears. A close member of my own family had their first child this year. Although the baby is not old enough to watch Bluey, my relative came across Baby Race on YouTube while researching a delay in their baby's development. I hope they're I hope they're not watching this. I kind of expected they might read the book eventually, but I didn't tell them that they were going to be in the book. They know I'm a fan of Bluey, to say the least, and so I received a text message that evening telling me that they were moved to tears by the episode. When asked on the Hey, Guess What podcast about the audience's unique reaction to Bluey, Brum said, It's a compliment for the show, but you're never that far from crying once you've had kids, he chuckles. You're crying because you love your kids and because you're tired. It's just an emotional territory, as you know when you've got kids that age. It is interesting that Brum and Ludo Studios never set out to make people cry, according to every interview that I've been able to find that touches on the subject. However, given the title of the book, it may be appropriate to attempt to describe the emotions that Bluey evokes and explain why they might be strong enough to lead to uncontrollable weeping in adults. The love of a parent for their child is one of the strongest emotions that someone can feel, but it is not straightforwardly a positive emotion. It's bittersweet. To love a child is not just a feeling of happiness when they are with you, or the pride you feel in their accomplishments. It is also feeling protective of them, and guilty when you let them down. Both pure joy and pure sorrow are strong emotions, but it seems to be a bittersweet moment in film and TV that triggers the strongest reaction, as if the sad and happy parts of the brain are being activated simultaneously, building off one another like notes in harmony. This is not unique to Bluey. For years, Pixar was the foremost creator of children's cartoons that pulled on the heartstrings of adults. See Up, Coco, and Toy Story 3. Using a similar mix of fun adventures with the subtle inclusion of mature themes and often hitting bittersweet story beats and emotive music. One of the purest pleasures of being a parent is being loved by your child more intensely than you've ever been loved by anyone before. This is the feeling that the final sting of Baby Race delivers when we see the moment that baby Bluey finally learns to walk, taking her first unsteady steps towards her unsuspecting mother. Oh, don't cry! when I was talking about you, did you? I decided to walk in the kitchen, asked present-day Bluey. Maybe you just saw something you wanted, offers Bingo, as we see the flashback of the new mother Chili's tearful delight and pride as baby Bluey toddles into her arms. This one's awake now. Yeah, I can read the next chapter. Yeah. Charades. Do you say charades or charades? I'm actually not sure what I say. What do they say in the episode? I think they call it charades in the episode. Season 2, episode 11, Charades, takes the common complaint from parents everywhere. Charades tackles the common complaint from parents everywhere that their children get spoiled when they visit their grandparents. The story is about Bluey and Bingo visiting their grandmother with their cousins Muffin and Socks. Muffin is a typical 3-year-old who is mercilessly demanding, and her nana repeatedly gives in without any resistance, in accordance with her personal philosophy. At Nana's house, everyone gets what they want. This leads to a game of charades that goes completely sideways as Nana repeatedly yields to Muffin's defiance. Oh, should we sit up? You can be in the video. I just have to do an adjustment here. Oh, yeah. Oof. Try and do this on my laptop. As irritating as it is for parents when this happens in real life, even when they're getting free childcare after the arrangement. Let me just check this. Color balance is awful, but you can still see me at least. Now I've lost my place. As irritating as it is for parents when this happens in real life, even if they are getting free childcare after the arrangement, this episode still manages to make it into a heartwarming story. Every time I watch it, my instinct is to want Muffin to play charades properly, but I cannot bring myself to see Nana's compliance as weakness. Nana is intentional with her kindness. She wants her grandchildren to enjoy visiting her, with the understanding that they will be expected to be well behaved when they get home. As a parent, I still resent Nana, but the episode frames the situation from the perspective of a child, and so I cannot help but adore her. In the end, Muffin's unreasonable demands inadvertently lead to her little sister Socks getting a chance to win a round of charades when she would not have otherwise had a chance. I don't think you're going to let me do this, are you? All right, that's another third of the book gone, maybe a bit less than a third. But, thank you for watching, and thank you especially for people who bought the book. You're the best. Thank you for our super chat, and I'll give you a kiss on the head again because you've been such a good crowd. Thank you very much. Where?